everybody, I'm Tom Vasel. Welcome to the Dice Tower. This is Week in Review. It's basically an index of all the videos we did last week. We're going to tell you what we think of them in short snippets. And then if you want to see the whole video, you just click on the links in the description below. Let's get started.
Hey everybody, I'm Garcia. Here's what I did last week. So I reviewed The Tree Lines Avenue, which I rated a 6 out of 10. This one is a tile laying sort of grid building game. It has a system very similar to King Domino, in which you are drafting. If you take something slightly better, you go later the next time. I liked it. I thought the scoring was a little ho-hum. There wasn't any pizzazz in it. It's very pretty, and the production is lovely. Great quality cards. The bits are very nice, but the game is just missing some spice, something more to make the endgame scoring and the ultimate goal feel more fulfilling than it ends up being and coming across. I reviewed Treasures of Cibola, which I rated a 6.5 out of 10. This one is a simultaneous bidding game. You put a number of little wooden meeples in your hand, you bid those, you draft cards then, based on who bid the most first. And you are collecting sets. One of the cool twists in this one is that as you collect some of these cards, the temple where you're supposed to be breaking into is collapsing, and so you cover up the values of some of those symbols you're collecting. So the value sort of is determined by the players themselves. I think it's definitely better at 4. I think the game is very light. It's 15 minutes. It's sort of a float away kind of game. But I like the look, I like what's going on in it, I like that the economy in it is a closed economy. As you bid, you lose those things, but if you ever bid nothing, you get some of them back. And you have to know when to do that. So I enjoy it. Nothing revolutionary, certainly one that I'm not going to be pulling out often, but one that, sitting in the back of the closet, I will look upon with fond memories and maybe bring out and have a fun time teaching it to, especially mixed age groups or perhaps non-gamers. Lastly, I reviewed Parks Wildlife, which I rated a 7 out of 10. This is the latest expansion to Parks, a big hit. And Wildlife here just kind of adds more of what's already there. I kind of feel bad that Parks Wildlife here is the second expansion to the game, because I thought the first expansion, Nightfall, was stronger and really mixed up the game. It changed it up, gave you a new flavor. This one just sort of enhances the same flavor, which isn't bad by any means, but I would say if you want to try something that takes Parks and remixes it, try Nightfall instead. But if you don't want to mess with it too much, you just want a few more cards, a few more things to do, Wildlife will definitely give you that. It's a solid little expansion. It just is hurt by being second to the better Nightfall, in my opinion. And that's it. That's going to do it for me. I'll see you on the next one.
Hey everybody, Chris here. This week I took a look at quite a few games, starting with Netflix's Queen's Gambit, the board game. Yes, this is real. No, this is not a joke. And yes, I really gave it a 5.5. I was surprisingly okay with this game. I thought that it was going to be utter dreck. You move a piece around a chessboard to collect chess pieces of different victory point values and count up points. It's ridiculous, but you do it through this card programming action that I found kind of fun. A little bit more fun maybe than it deserves to be, but it's weird that it's chess themed, and it's not good, but it's not horrible, so 5.5, kind of fun. Next up was Zombicide Gear Up. I gave this one a 6 out of 10. This is a roll-and-write version of Zombicide. I'm kidding. No, it's a polyomino game. It's a polyomino game where you fill in shapes. You fire your shotgun, it creates an L. You fire, this pistol, it creates 2 dots. And you fill in a grid, and it's okay, but the cadence is strange. The idea that it's cooperative, so there's pressure on you, but once the boss comes out in the second round, the cadence, the timing of it, the pacing isn't quite right. So 6 out of 10. Next up, Netflix's Dragon Prince, the board game, or Dragon Prince Battlecharged, rather. This is a Netflix game that I gave an 8 out of 10 to. I really like this one. I'm also a huge fan of the show, and unlike the Queen's Gambit, this game captures a lot of the charm and the quality of the show and puts it into a board game that's done really lovingly, I think. Huge dichotomy, huge difference compared to Queen's Gambit. I really felt like I was playing a deck of cards that well represented the characters. And if you haven't watched The Dragon Prince, I also really recommend that show. So this one has a few little issues to it, but in a genre of game that I don't always love, skirmish, run around, fight each other, I thought it's done very well, 8 out of 10. And then lastly, Planted. I gave Planted an 8 out of 10 in the Foursquare review that we did of it. Planted is a Phil Walker Harding card drafting game about raising plants, and it's got some very simple set collection and then resource collection and spend them for different types of plants. And I found the whole game charming. Looks are amazing. Value is super good, and I'm very, very impressed with this one overall. So 8 out of 10 from me. We also did, Wendy and I did a top 10 anticipated games from Gen Con 2022. So go watch that. That's been my week.
Hi, I'm Wendy Yee. This week I reviewed 3 games. The first game is Queen's Gambit. I gave it a 4.5. It is very loosely chess themed, as in the sense that you are moving pieces in chess by following chess rules for the movement for those pieces. But it's totally a programming game, and you're just trying to move across the board, landing on spaces and picking up tiles. It has a really weird arc. I don't really love it with more players. It's better at 2, worse at 4. The programming is interesting, but I don't really like a lot about the game, so that's why I gave it a 4.5. The other game I played, number 2, is Zombicide Gear Up. This is a polyomino shooting game where you're shooting polyomino guns at zombies, and I thought, ooh, polyominoes and zombies, a flip and right game or roll and right game, like, ooh, I like a lot about this, but the arc of it, the build-up, the way that the boss works and that kind of stuff just didn't really speak to me a ton, but I did still find it fun, and I still enjoyed the polyomino part. I enjoyed the Zombicide theme that's on there, and so I gave it a 6. And then the last game that I played was Planted. Oh yeah, Planted I reviewed. I gave that an 8 in our Foursquare review. I really, really love Phil Walker Harding. I love his game so much, and this is one of those great games that he's made. It didn't quite reach an 8.5 because I don't feel like it's as good as some of the other games that he has put out, but I really enjoy it still. The quality of the pieces, the kind of zen nature of this building your nurturing theme, really enjoy all of that. So that's what I played this week.
Hey there everybody, it's Mike DiLisio, and this week I reviewed 2 games. First, I reviewed the solo mode for It's a Wonderful Kingdom, the follow-up to It's a Wonderful World. I gave the solo mode for this game an 8 out of 10. It is one that I feel still retains the feel of It's a Wonderful World. If you liked that game, kind of the resource building and the management and the light engine building, that's still here in It's a Wonderful Kingdom, but it's more tightly designed for a smaller player count. It's really a 1 or 2 player game, and I feel like it did a really good job with that. The solo game works with all 3 of the modules in the base box, so I recommend that one. And then I also reviewed Vengeance, Roll and Fight. This is another one where I was reviewing the solo mode, although the multiplayer mode plays very similarly. I gave this an 8.5, a seal of excellence. I really think that this game does a terrific job of taking the game it was kind of built from, Vengeance, which is a big, epic, miniatures-heavy game, and condensed it to a much smaller table space, time period. It's a much more tightly focused game, and so depending on what kind of experience you're looking for, if you want a big, epic experience with minis, Vengeance might be the way to go, but if you want what I think is the best element of that game, which is the puzzly boss den element, and you want it in a smaller package, a shorter time frame, then Roll and Fight is a good way to go. All right, well, that's it for me this week. Let's keep it moving.
Okay, so for me, first of all, Titan. A huge game that I was very excited about, and the game itself is okay. It's a decent game, but it's one of the worst productions, overproduced in a bad way that really destroys any excitement or anything I have about the game. 4 out of 10. Cryptid Cafe, this is an okay worker placement game. Has a rule or 2 I don't like. There's no arc in the game. It's just not very exciting. 6 out of 10. Kites. Hey, it's about flipping timers in a cooperative game, speed style game. You're going to like it or hate it. I tend to like it. 7 out of 10. Rear Window. This is a kind of party style game based on the movie, the old movie, in which one person is the director. They're going to give you clues, and you're trying to figure out who done what. It's nice. It's very similar to Mysterium, 7 out of 10. Village Rails, a small little filler of sorts where you're placing railroad cards in a grid, but there's a lot more thinkiness behind it than I expected, 7.5. Plant It. This is we all did this one together, a big game about collecting plants in your house. Beautiful production, great price point, very welcoming style game, 7.5. Port Royal, the big box. Well, I love Port Royal, so a bigger box with more stuff in it works for me. I didn't really review Port Royal, just took a look at the new stuff here, but still 8.5. Cat in a Box, one of the best trick-taking games I've played in a while. Really like this one. All the cards are black. You pick the color they are. It really works well, 8.5. My Father's Work. Despite there being some flaws in this very long, big game about being a mad scientist, I just love it. It's really fantastic and fun to play, 9 out of 10. And then Cosmic Odyssey, an expansion I did not expect to like for Cosmic Encounter because it has a campaign. What I didn't realize is how much content is in this thing for Cosmic Encounter. I love it. So I took a look at everything except the campaign. I'll look at that in the future, but everything else, 10 out of 10. I also continued my series of Kickstarter Look Back, where I look at Kickstarters I've backed and what I think about them now. We did a couple Gen Con previews this week, taking a look at what's happening at Gen Con next week. I did my top 10 CMON games. I took a look at 4 games I won't play again for various reasons, mostly because they're bad. And we also took a look at the most checked out games from the Dice Tower library during Dice Tower East. And of course, we did our regular shows, crowd surfing, board game breakfasts, Q&As and such. Lots of content. I hope you enjoy it. Until next time, though, I'm Tom Vasel, and this has been Week in Review on the Dice Tower.